What's up, everybody? Justin at S&K Greenhouse, and I'm here with the legendary Bruce Duncan.
What's up?
We've got a video that has been requested over and over again, how to plant a conifer in the South.
Yes.
We're out here in Falston, North Carolina, and we have a nice little weeping white spruce.
Pine.
It was supposed to be a spruce, and I ended up grabbing the wrong
That's
tree.
all right. I love it.
But Bruce still likes this one. So you don't plant conifers here in the South like you would in the Pacific Northwest.
You shouldn't.
Well, you shouldn't. You have a better chance of survival, you know, with the tips that you're about to give today. So many people have seen your yard and they want to know, how do you get your conifers to do so well in this area? Because you have a lot of them planted that are maybe a little bit borderline.
Yes.
And I think the tips and tricks Bruce is going to show us today is going to show you how to get them to grow. Let's hop into it.
Well, let's get started. Let's talk about where we're planting it. I've got our hole dug and ready. And what I want to do, as a matter of fact, Justin, hold my shovel. And I want to demonstrate something very quickly.
We got about a 6-gallon container here.
6-gallon weeping white pine. I love it. Let's get it out of the container.
Strobus pendula.
There's a couple of things that I want to mention here. First of all, if we were planting, let's say, a crepe myrtle, a maple, an oak tree, you know, just your typical tree.
Holly. Boxwood.
Not at my house. If we were planting your typical tree that you see in the Southeast, when I take it out of the container like we just did, what I like to do is tip it over and look at the root ball and examine whether it's root bound or not. Now, with a typical tree, if it is root bound, I may get in there and loosen it up. If it's extremely root bound, I'll even sometimes take a saw and cut about 1 inch off the entire bottom. However, that's with a typical tree. We're planting a conifer, and more specifically, a pine, an ornamental pine. In this case, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not going to do anything to this root ball. I don't care how root bound it could be or might be. It's like my granddaddy said, son, growing up, if you saw a big dog lying down asleep, he'd say, leave it be. So we're going to leave it be.
Don't disturb the root ball, folks.
Now, so don't disturb the root ball.
If it was very, very root bound, would you tease it a little bit with your hand maybe?
Not
or just
with a spruce or an ornamental pine like we have right now, no.
Don't want to shock it.
I don't want to shock. Okay. I don't want to do anything. Even taking it out of the container this time of year can be a little iffy. Do you remember those weeping hemlocks that we decided one day they needed to be transplanted into a bigger container? All we did was move them to a bigger container.
And they went into shock.
Oh, they went into shock.
We're in about the middle of August, and this is probably a little bit early to be planting conifers. Probably a more optimal time would be, I'd say, from September to November, somewhere in there. With
this tree, though, I think we're safe. I think we're okay. Second, that was our first tip. Second tip, if this were an ordinary tree, as we mentioned, crepe myrtle, oak, maple, whatever, we would take it, put it down in our prepared hole, and then we would just start filling dirt in around it. But with a conifer, no, we're not going to do that. So what we're going to do, take the tree out, and I'm going to fill up the hole to about 2/3 full. Justin wanted to film me doing this. Do you want me to take my shirt off too while I do it? No, you don't want to see that.
Hey, what kind of soil are you putting in here?
Oh, yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, Justin. This
look at the soil, how rich it looks.
Yeah, this is partly, and we've talked about this in previous videos here at my house, this is 1/3 of my composted soil. I've added to it a soil conditioner, which is essentially ground up pine bark.
Okay.
And I've also added sand, dark sand. You can kind of see it, can't you, Justin?
Yeah, so the sand and the pine bark would be for drainage.
For drainage.
Okay.
And what the compost does, it is slightly acidic. On the pH scale, it's probably, I don't know, 6.5, around 6, something like that. Conifers tend to like soil on the acidic side rather than the alkalinic side. So,
is there leaf mold in here too?
no, I didn't put any here.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because sometimes leaf mold can hold extra water, and when it comes to a conifer, I don't like to do that.
Okay.
But with most of my other plants, I do like to put leaf mold in.
Okay.
All right, we got our hole about 2/3 to 4/5 full, and as you can see, this tree is going to sit. As a matter of fact, now that we're looking at it, Justin, let's take it out. I'm gonna add just a little bit more soil. I almost want that root ball almost sitting on top of the ground. Maybe a couple of inches below the surface is all I want.
If you don't hear anything else in this video, take note of that. You want to plant your conifers up high.
And if this were like a blue spruce, I would have the soil all the way to the top and then mound my soil around it, which is what we're going to do here as well. Okay, here we go. Now, while I've got this here, I do want to mention, you can see, Alex, there's some, and this is common when you bring a plant home from the nursery, there's some kind of clover or something growing in it. I want to get that off before we plant it. Clean it up a little bit. Okay, now, thank you, Justin. What we'll do now is we'll come back to our soil and we'll start mounding it up around that root ball. Now, sometimes when you plant, if this were a bigger specimen, and I have planted some 20, 25 gallon spruces around my yard right on top of the ground, it does look kind of funny at first because you'll see a hump. And you won't notice it as bad with this specimen, but with some trees you do. But what happens over time, usually within a year, year and a half or so, gravity will eventually bring that tree down to where it's more level looking, and you'll never notice it.
I think we got that pretty straight.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so we got our soil now added.
Would you say that hole width was about 1.5 times the size of the root ball?
It was. I'm glad you mentioned that, Justin. I meant to say something myself, but it was about 1.5 times.
And you could go as wide as probably what, 2 times wide as the root ball?
It as wide as you want to, really.
Wider is probably a little bit better than the depth. I mean, more important than the depth.
It is, yeah, because it's all about making sure that this root ball does not sit in excessive water. You want it to drain well. Now, one thing that's going to help the drainage in this area of my yard is we've got these big trees, and of course they've got roots, and they'll suck up moisture too, which does help. All right, now it's planted. We've got our soil mounted up to it. All I want to do is take some of these pine needles and just kind of, this is really nothing more, just to make it look good, make it look like it's been here a while.
Now, Bruce, are you careful not to let your branch tips touch the native soil or the naked soil? Or does it depend on the conifer?
It depends. I'd say 90% of conifers, and we've talked about this before, in our area. If you were out west, up north, no big deal. But in the south, we get a lot of soil-borne funguses in the summer. And if you've got a conifer where the limbs are touching the ground, that can be an issue because that fungus will get translated to the tree. However, in the case of this being a white pine, is this a Pinus parviflora or Pinus strobus? It is a Pinus strobus. Pinus strobus is an eastern white pine, which means it's native to America. In this case, touching the ground, I don't believe is going to be an issue. I believe it'll be fine.
But if it were a mugo pine or maybe a Norway spruce, something like that.
Yeah, then I would keep the branches.
Yeah.
I'd keep them off the ground. And how easy was that, Justin?
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
Now, will you water this in?
I will.
And then how would you take care of it moving forward?
I hesitated because when you asked me, am I going to water it in, normally I would. I would bring some water or drag my hose out here. However, they're calling for rain tonight and tomorrow, so I'm just going to let it sit in case it does rain. I don't want to give it too much water. Once a tree like this is planted, I will kind of watch the weather. One of the biggest mistakes I see when people call me and say, Bruce, my conifer's not doing right, I'll go to their house, check it out, and I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 times, I discover the soil is very wet, and I'll say, how often do you water this tree? Oh, I water it every day. And I'm like, no.
Not here.
Not here. Even in excessive heat like we have in the summer, even when it's not raining, don't water it every day.
Well,
once a week is sufficient with this type of specimen.
Right.
With most conifers, once a week would be fine.
A lot of people ask, I know we've done a lot of tours, do you have irrigation on any of your conifers?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you the reason why is once it becomes established, usually a year, maybe a year and a half, I don't worry with it.
They get what they need out of the ground.
They do.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some other places where they have loamy, fast-draining soil, maybe.
Could be an issue.
But here in the South, our ground tends to hold a good bit of water because of the clay.
Once the roots of a conifer get acclimated to the soil, and like I said, that takes a year and a half, there isn't too much need to water. Unless you just happen to be in a severe drought where it's super hot and that drought has lasted for a month or two, you might water it a little more often.
Yeah. Well, folks, we got a huge announcement. This October 5th, on a Saturday, we're going to have Bruce Duncan over at S&K Greenhouse in Shelby, North Carolina for a meet and greet. We're going to have a huge shipment of conifers coming in from Isling Nursery, possibly one other nursery. We're going to have food trucks, and we just want to invite y'all to come see us that day. I'll be there. Bruce will be here.
I'm laughing because I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you, but when that word shipment came out kind of slick, didn't it? I thought, oh Lord, he's about to cuss.
It's this heat. It's the heat, okay? But
I'm sorry.
We're going to have a huge shipment of conifers. October the 5th. Come on, see us. You can pick Bruce's brain. He's going to be available all day long.
I can't wait to meet everybody who wants to come and talk to me. And let's talk about, I can talk about conifers almost as much fun as talking about college football.
Almost.
Almost. It's right up there. You know, talking about when you said the word shipment a moment ago, that made me think of that. Have y'all seen that Sears commercial that came out a few years ago? And this guy standing there and he said, I just shipped my pants. And when I first saw that commercial, I went, that was one of them moments like, what?
Ship my pants? Right here? Ship my pants, you're kidding. You can ship your pants right here. You hear that? I can ship my pants for free.
Wow, I just may ship my pants.
And then it dawned on me, they're saying shipped.
If you haven't already, in the description of this video, there's going to be a link, and it's going to take you to our website where you can get notified whenever shipments of conifers come in. Put your first and last name, email, telephone number, and we will keep you updated on events and when our conifers come in. Bruce, thank you for doing this video.
Oh, I'm happy to, Justin.
This was super educational. This answers a lot of questions I've been getting about how you're pulling off all these wonderful conifers on your property. And so, you know what? Until next time,
be a plant person.